If you're an IT leader who didn't roll out AI, didn't authorize any tools, and somehow still ended up responsible for all of it, this episode was made for you. Welcome to the Blair AI Rollout Podcast, where operations leaders get a structured, practical path to rolling out AI inside their organizations. I'm Steve, creator of the Blair AI Rollout Framework. And if you're responsible for workflows, teams, or outcomes, you're in the right place. No hype, no chaos, just a clear, responsible way to move AI forward inside your organization.
Listen to questions.
This week's listener question comes from Hugh. Hugh is the IT manager at a construction company in Chicago, about 200 employees. He leads a small IT team responsible for keeping systems running across both office and field operations. And Hugh says, Steve, I'm an IT manager at a construction company in Chicago, about 200 employees. I didn't authorize any AI tools. I didn't roll anything out. But I'm finding out that people across the company are already using them. Estimators, project managers, even some of the field supervisors. Now leadership is looking at me like I'm supposed to have answers. I don't even know what they're all using. Where do I even start? Hugh, I hear you, and I want you to know something important right up front. This is not your fault. You didn't create this situation. AI showed up in your organization the same way it's showing up in thousands of organizations across every industry right now. Quietly, practically, and faster than any IT policy could keep up with. People found tools that made their work easier, and they started using them. That's human nature. But here's the reality. Whether you authorized it or not, you're now the person leadership is looking at. And in construction, where you're dealing with project data, client information, subcontractor communications, and safety documentation, the stakes of unmanaged AI use are real. So let's get you some answers. Hugh's question drives everything we cover today. And if you're a manager, director, or IT leader sitting on a similar situation right now, stay with us. This one's for you. So Hugh, let's start with the most important thing I want you to hear right now. Do not panic, and do not send a company-wide email banning AI tools. I know that might be tempting. You found out people are using tools you didn't authorize. Leadership is asking questions, and your instinct as an IT manager is to lock things down and get control. I get it. But here's what happens when you lead with a ban. You don't stop the AI use. You just drive it underground. People keep using the tools. They just stop telling you about it. And that makes your visibility problems significantly worse, not better. So before you do anything else, before you write a policy, before you talk to leadership, before you make a single decision about what's allowed and what isn't, you need to get visible. What does that mean in practice for a 200-person construction company in Chicago? It means having informal conversations, not interrogations, not formal audits with HR in the room, just genuine, curious conversations with the people who are closest to the work. Talk to the estimators. Talk to the project managers. Talk to the field supervisors Hugh mentioned. Ask them one simple question. What tools are you using to make your work faster or easier right now? You might be surprised what you find. And more importantly, you might be surprised how willing people are to tell you if they don't feel like they're about to get in trouble for it. The goal of this exercise isn't to catch anyone doing something wrong. The goal is to build a map. What tools are in use? Which teams are using them? What kind of work is involved? What data might be touching those tools? That map, even if it's rough, even if it's incomplete, is worth more than any policy you could write right now, because it tells you what you're actually dealing with. And Hugh, in construction specifically, that map matters a lot. You've got estimators working with bid data, project managers handling client contracts, field supervisors dealing with safety documentation. Those are very different risk profiles, and you can't triage any of it until you know what's actually happening. Get visible first. Everything else comes after. All right, so you've done the visibility exercise. You've had the conversations. You've got a rough map of what tools are in use, which teams are using them, and what kind of work is involved. Now what? Now you triage. Before you standardize anything, before you write a single policy, before you go to leadership with a plan, you need to sort what you found into 3 buckets: low risk, medium risk, high risk. Let me walk you through what that looks like inside a construction company. Low risk is your estimator using ChatGPT to draft a bid summary from notes he already took. No client data going in, no proprietary project information. Just a drafting tool helping him write faster. That's low risk. You don't need to shut that down. You might want to document it and set some light guardrails, but you're not losing sleep over it. Medium risk is your project manager using an AI tool to summarize meeting notes from a client kickoff call. Now you've got client names, project details, maybe some budget numbers going into a third-party tool. That needs a closer look. What tool is it? What are the data privacy terms? Where is that data being stored? Who has access to it? That's a conversation worth having before it continues. High risk is someone feeding a subcontractor contract, a safety incident report, or an employee document into an AI tool with no data privacy controls and no review process. That is a real exposure that needs to stop immediately, not with a heavy hand, but with a clear, calm conversation about why it's a problem and what the responsible alternative looks like. Here's why this triage framework matters so much for Hugh specifically. You have a small IT team. You cannot be everywhere at once. You cannot audit every tool, review every workflow, and personally approve every AI use case across 200 employees in a construction company with field and office operations. But you can teach people to triage themselves. When your project managers and field supervisors understand the difference between low-risk and high-risk AI use, when they have a simple mental model for when to proceed, when to ask, and when to stop, you've just multiplied your IT team without adding a single headcount. That's not just risk management, Hugh. That's leverage. All right, so you've got visibility. You've done the triage. You know what's low risk, what needs guardrails, and what needs to stop immediately. Now here's the reframe that changes everything. The unauthorized AI use you discovered inside your construction company, that's not just a problem to manage. That's a roadmap. Think about what you actually found during that visibility exercise. You found the workflows where AI is already adding value. You found the teams that are motivated to use it. You found the use cases that your employees, the people doing the actual work every day, decided were worth their time without anyone telling them to. That is incredibly valuable intelligence. And most IT leaders never see it because they lead with a ban before they ever get curious enough to look. So here's what I want Hugh to consider. Instead of treating the unauthorized use as a problem to eliminate, treat it as a pilot that already started without you. Your job now is to bring structure to what's already happening. Let's say your estimators are using AI to draft bid summaries, and it's saving them 2 hours per estimate. That's a real, measurable, documented workflow improvement happening right now inside your organization. With the right guardrails, approved tools, defined data boundaries, a human review step, that becomes your first official control pilot. You didn't have to convince anyone to try it. You just had to make it responsible. And when you walk into that leadership meeting, you're not walking in empty-handed. You're not walking in with a problem and no solution. You're walking in with a map of where AI is already working inside your organization, a triage framework that shows you understand the risks, and a recommendation for which workflow should become your first official pilot. That's not damage control. That's a strategy. And here's the bigger picture for a 200-person construction company in Chicago. You have estimators, project managers, field supervisors, safety coordinators, and office staff, all with different workflows, different risk profiles, and different levels of AI curiosity. The unauthorized use you discovered tells you exactly which of those groups are ready to move and which ones need more time. You didn't ask for this situation, Hugh, but you're uniquely positioned to turn it into something that actually moves your organization forward responsibly. The mess that landed on your desk, that's your starting point. And starting points, even messy ones, are exactly what the Blair framework was built for.
AI hot tip.
Here's this week's AI hot tip. If you're an IT leader or any kind of operations leader who suspects AI tools are already being used inside your organization without a formal plan, here's a simple exercise you can do this week. Send a short, casual, non-threatening message to 3 or 4 team leads. Not a formal survey, not a policy announcement, just a simple note that says something like, "Hey, I'm putting together a picture of how our team is using AI tools day to day. No judgment, just trying to understand what's actually helpful. What are you or your team using right now?" That's it. Keep it that simple. You'll be amazed what comes back. People want to talk about the tools they've found helpful. They just don't want to feel like they're going to get in trouble for it. When you remove the threat, you get the truth. And Hugh, in a construction environment where you've got office and field teams operating very differently, that simple outreach might reveal 2 completely different AI landscapes inside the same company. Both valuable, both worth knowing about. Start the conversation this week. The map you build from those responses is worth more than any policy you could write right now. All right, let's bring it home. Here's what we covered today. First, don't panic and don't ban. When you discover unauthorized AI use inside your organization, your first move is visibility, not lockdown. Have informal, curious conversations. Build a map of what's actually happening before you make a single decision. Second, triage before you standardize. Not all unauthorized AI use carries the same risk. Sort what you find into low, medium, and high-risk buckets. That simple framework tells you where to act immediately, where to put guardrails, and where to let things run with light oversight. And when you teach your team to triage themselves, you've just multiplied your capacity without adding headcount. Third, turn the problem into the plan. The unauthorized AI use you discovered isn't just a risk to manage. It's a roadmap. It tells you where AI is already adding value, which teams are motivated, and which workflows are ready for control pilot. You didn't ask for this situation, but you are uniquely positioned to turn it into something that moves your organization forward responsibly. And Hugh, thank you. You asked exactly the right question at exactly the right time. You didn't create this situation, but the way you handle it from here is going to define how AI gets adopted inside your organization for years to come. That's not a burden. That's an opportunity.
Optimistic AI thought of the week.
And finally, here's this week's optimistic AI thought of the week. There's a version of this story that ends badly. IT leader discovers unauthorized AI use, sends a company-wide ban, drives it underground, loses visibility entirely, and 6 months later something goes wrong with client data and nobody saw it coming. That story happens, more often than it should. But here's the version I see more and more when I talk to IT leaders and operations managers who are approaching this thoughtfully. They discover the unauthorized use. They get curious instead of reactive. They build a map. They triage the risk. And then something unexpected happens. They become the person inside their organization who actually understands where AI is adding value. Not theoretically, not from a vendor presentation, but from real conversations with real people doing real work. And that person, the one who got curious instead of reactive, who built structure instead of barriers, who turned a messy situation into a strategy, that person becomes the internal champion that every organization desperately needs right now. Hugh, you called yourself an IT manager, but what you're describing, taking ownership of a complex, unstructured situation and trying to figure out the responsible path forward, that's not just IT management. That's leadership. And the organizations that have people like you asking these questions right now, those are the ones that are going to get this right. Keep going. That's a wrap on episode 3 of season 3 of the Blair AI Rollout Podcast. If today's episode resonated with you, if you heard yourself in Hugh's situation, here's your next step. Head over to blairts.com/framework. Take the free AI readiness score and find out exactly where your organization stands today. Whether you're dealing with unauthorized AI use, leadership pressure, or just trying to figure out where to start, the framework gives you a structured, no-hype path forward. Link is in the show notes. And Hugh, if you're listening, thank you. You didn't ask for this situation, But the fact that you're asking the right questions tells me your organization is in good hands. Keep those listener questions coming. This show exists because of questions like Hugh's. Send yours to steve@blairts.com. I read every single one, and your question could drive a future episode. If you found value today, please take 30 seconds and leave a review wherever you listen. It helps more operations leaders find the show, and it genuinely means a lot. I'm Steve. This is the Blair AI Rollout Podcast. Let's roll this out the right way.